If you're a consultant who wants to make offers that get results, you are in the right place. Welcome to your Consulting Business Podcast. My name is Russell Pearson, and this is episode number 54. Today we're going to be talking about offers. How do you make offers? What are the components of a good offer? And what get results in the world of offer making? But it's also, I think, important to understand that as a consultant, you're continuously making offers. This is part of your delivery. Now, I'm not even talking about pre-sale. I'm talking about during an engagement. How do we help people take steps? How do we offer those people the opportunity to take those steps so that they will take them to hit the transformational steps that they want to achieve? Now, it's also going to be very relevant when you're helping someone become a lead. How do you invite someone into your world? What is the offers that you make at this stage? How do you bring them from that lead component into becoming a customer? And we've got an excellent guest today who's going to be talking about exactly that. And then from that prospect or customer, how do you help turn them into clients? Now, if you have done your offers correctly, it means that you're going to be in the mentoring seat to enable you to do great work through the engagement. So offers are incredibly important. They're an incredibly important part of everything we do as consultants. So let me introduce our guest. Our guest has a long history in the world of making offers and has done some incredible things, which I'll explain in the episode. But he sold hundreds of millions of dollars of client services, programs, products in many different areas. But he's also a practitioner of this stuff in his own world and has sold tens of millions of dollars of his own programs as well. He is a little bit of a genius, to be honest. I love the way he works. He's been able to take the complex and make it simple, and I'm always interested in what he's got to say. So let's make him feel absolutely welcome. Please welcome James Kemp. Mr. James Kemp, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
It's good to have you here, not only because you know a lot about helping consultants get more clients, but also I love the way that your brain works. It seems to take the complex and make it simple, and then you'll ask a question that'll suddenly throw an expert back into, oh my God, I'd never thought of it that way before, and then the simpler answer, even simpler again, will spit out the other side. So people who don't know you, can you give them just a little bit of your background?
Yeah. So, I mean, I've been selling stuff on the internet for 15 years. So first as a self-made entrepreneur where I built websites and generated leads for finance companies. And then in the middle period, I was marketing director of a $120 million online business where we made 300 to 500 offers a day. And then in the last decade, been building, selling my own products in various spaces, and built a small little audience, and worked out good ways to create offers and create value for people in the audience. So, been an offer owner and product publisher and a dog fooder, as I call it, for a long time, because I consult on what I do and I do what I consult on. So it's a nice little loop.
Yeah, very good. It was interesting, speaking of dog food. I remember I think it was Brad Sugars once that had a thing where he was working with dog food, and his deal was, if something happens to your dog, we'll buy you another dog. We'll buy you a bigger dog, that's gonna
Good risk reversal.
consume more food. But the what I love about your stuff is the offers. So it's great.
Yeah.
Let's talk about offers. Talking to consultants, which are the people who are listening to you. Hello, Mr. or Mrs. or Ms. Consultant. What do you think gets in the way of super smart people, these experts who consult, in being able to make an offer out into the world?
I think largely what you see where people get stuck is not pre-packaging a result, using the experience and understanding that, if they took a look at their clients over a few years,
Mm-hmm.
that the core results or the core promise or the core outcome that most clients want is largely in a small handful of things.
Yeah.
So one of the things I do with people, with clients, with whatever in our environment in, is like, what results have you got before? And ask them and say, what results have you got people before? What have you helped them with? because making an offer is just pre-packaging a result
Mm-hmm.
and saying, I know you want more leads, more sales, you want more efficiency, you want the workplace to work better, you want a smaller team, you want better meetings, whatever the result that people have delivered before can
Yep.
be pre-packaged. So I think people get stuck in the overthinking of like, but I can do anything for anybody and I can do 10 different things.
Mm-hmm.
But making an offer is largely finding the people who have the priority of the result that you offer them now,
Yes.
whatever that may be. It's usually more of something or less of something painful. So
Now
prepackage the result is the
and
fastest way to make an offer.
Oh, 100%. When I talk about outcomes, you're talking about results. They are the same thing.
Yeah.
And I do see where some consultants get tripped up is they think that the solution is the result rather than it just being the stepping stone or the antidote to get the result.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. The mechanism that you use is just a point of conviction of people that you can get the result because you're saying this is the mechanism we use to get the result or the outcome that we're largely promising. Because at the end of the day, people care much less about the mechanism or the system you use, and much more about the outcome and the time frame that it's going to happen over.
And for many consultants, like I've seen them work incredibly successful without ever even mentioning the specific mechanism. The mechanism could be them. It's like you will get the result through me.
Yeah. For most consultants, they are the mechanism.
Yeah.
Their skills, their experience is the mechanism. And you can call it lots of cool names, and it definitely helps in the marketing front. But at the end of the day, if you nail the outcome, you nail the result and the promise, you're kind of 80% there.
Now, one of the questions that I hear from consultants a fair bit is, do I go to the result or do I talk to the problem? What is your thought there?
So there's two distinctions I like to make with it, and it does depend. It's often easier to sell. A lot of people go out there and try and sell transformation. So they try and sell large scale change. We'll transform your factory into the most efficient thing you've done. We'll transform your website into a lead generation machine. And often the first sale is a transition. The first sale is the transition is we'll give you a plan to transform your factory into a highly efficient, money printing device.
So, can I just jump in there because that's going to be important because, like, you're saying words. I want to make sure people get them. Transformation being the entire journey, so to speak, or at least one part of it. The transition being the first step.
The first step, and that could be as simple as a plan, a blueprint, a direction that people are going in, or it could be getting them the first result. If you promise someone more sales, we're going to add $1 million in sales to your bottom line. Say you're a sales consultant. The first step would be giving them the plan to add the $1 million, over the next 12 months. Yeah. The second step could be selling them the hand holding and the execution of that plan over the time. So I think the distinction is what's the outcome what's the most valuable thing and what's the outcome that you're promising. But it's in many cases, it's easier to sell the transition, the first stage of the first step of the journey, rather than try and boil the ocean and sell the whole journey at once.
Yeah, and I often see that even though they might not even thinking transformation, they might just think it's a project, especially in a corporate space, and they package up maybe a $80,000, $120,000 project. And then it's like, oh, we've got to value that against other options. We get our 3 quotes or whatever it is. And then, at the end of the day, it comes down to money a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But if the consultant actually broke that project up into its components, so much easier to become the incumbent, to become the person who's there helping the person strategize if they've just sold that first part.
Yeah, 100%. And there's something to be said that's often ignored about the sales velocity as well, especially for solo consultants or small consultancies. The velocity of them doing business matters a lot more than the total business, because the doing the 120 grand deal, the sales cycle might be 3 months, but doing the $10,000 slice of the first bit of the 120 grand deal and selling them the 110, 60 days later, you can get the 10 grand deal done in a week. So in many cases, that's going to drive more velocity. Getting started with clients is the priority, rather than selling them. It's You want to go on a date before you get married.
I wanted to quickly jump in and remind you about russellpearsonprograms.com. We put all sorts of resources specifically for consultants on that page, and if you go there right now, you'll see that there are some new resources available absolutely free for you to download. So go to russellpearsonprograms.com. Now, back to the show. You often talk about customer sales and then client sales.
Yeah.
Can you separate those two worlds? Because you're not talking about two different people, are you?
No, I'm not. Well, sometimes you are, but ultimately I make a distinction that there's three phases of, a journey towards high lifetime value.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, that's where businesses thrive, by having long-term relationships and retaining clients for a long period of time and having a high lifetime value.
Yep.
But to get a high lifetime value, you've got to go through a lot of steps to get there, and the three simple phases are leads, customers, and clients. And if we work back towards the market, clients are people you dedicate, time, access, and resources to. Customers are people who transact with you or make a custom of buying from you. And leads are people that we earn the right to communicate with, that we can then turn into customers or clients. So a customer is just someone where we can define more leverage. They might not be ready to become a client. They might want to, test out or experiment with some of your ideas. So, for me, I run $50, $100, $300, $500 workshops for people who are, have a specific result that they want now. It might be developing an offer, developing a lead generation system, developing a sales system. And then they want that one thing done. But then in the process of doing that, they like working with me, and then they may become a client in the future. So that allows me both to spend time with customers, but it also allows me to monetize people who haven't become clients. Because if you look at the average ratio of, a consultant might have 1,000 people in their network, but only 10 to 20 clients of that. So the ratios that they have are relatively low. 16% of people in my audience have bought something from me. So I have a much higher yield from the communication I have, and a much higher yield from the intellectual property by packaging things into customer offers and client offers.
I think it's great and brilliant for multiple reasons. But I've heard people vocalize the issue that, but if I sell them the small thing, they won't need me for the big thing. What is that? Is that just their fear creeping in? Is it poor product, or they're thinking of creating a poor product? Where are the risks for them, and where is it just nonsense?
It's nonsense because of the lack of patience. Because if that and it's also a neglect of the other currencies, which are goodwill. I've got 24 people who have bought all my products, and I've asked a number of them, why aren't they clients? Why aren't they in my ongoing program and have access to me and these things? And it's because they've taken the products and they've got results with them. And recently a guy who bought one of my products and executed on them and made tens of thousands of dollars with the templates and things that I gave him. He ran into the first issue where he needed troubleshooting of why one of the campaigns he ran didn't work as well. And he's like, it's time for me to become a client. So he was very happy executing those things on his own until he wasn't. And because I didn't use scarcity, I didn't have fear of him not becoming, I didn't have a need for him to become a client at any time. I was just happy that he got the result and happy that he was buying products from me. Then that, by the time he was ready, that was a very natural conversation of, well, let's come in here and diagnose the problem with the last one, and then, let's fix it, and then, go and do the next one. So I think it's a lack of patience and this idea of, I think especially in the online space, it's been developed that you need to see a result today. You need to get the money today. You need to get the ROI on these very short time horizons. And really, as I said before, lifetime value and longevity is, I've had clients I've got one client who's been with me for 12 years. We talk about lifetime value. That particular client has given me more revenue than most consultants make in a whole lifetime, And so it's an understanding of patience, that if your stuff works and it's good, that you should set it free. And then having an offer-driven business central principle is people will use the offers how they need to, and they'll naturally ascend and to the places they need to be on their own timeline.
So it's not a trick. It's not like we'll trick them through the process of becoming customers to become clients. We'll keep stuff back from them, whatever it is. It's just about breaking it up into smaller slices so they're going to take single steps.
100%. When I ran a workshop recently called the Cash Campaign, right? And it's 10 emails. It's broken down how to create the offer, etc. It is a standalone piece that people have got tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars of value in that moment, by executing those things. So it's a complete promise. And I think people are probably rightly cynical about some lower ticket offers or things that are less expensive, because someone does leave out the last bit that you need to get the result unless you buy the higher tier thing. And as a creator, I create for completion. And so I want something that I can pour all my energy into as well. And that's the same reason I have multiple levels of a client program, where I have a baseline level where you have community and, group calls with me. But if you want to upgrade to one-on-one, or if you want to upgrade to, mentorship on Zoom, then those are there. So I can have multiple people all at the right place, and they can flex as well. If someone wants 8 weeks of one-on-one with me over and above the community twice a year to accelerate certain things, then you've got flexibility, and the LTV is maximized because the client is largely in control of what they're purchasing and what level they're at any time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so the perception and goodwill is constant. They don't ever feel like they're sort of stuck into something, or they've been tricked into something or anything like that. They're doing what's going to be very valuable for them now.
Yeah, and it's also, a response to me of like many retainers I've seen over the years in consulting and the agency world. A lot of retainers get lost because you've over delivered and people haven't utilized all the things that you were giving them. And so lifetime value is cut off because it's binary. Like, unless you're paying our 15 grand a month retainer, you're a client or you're not. Whereas having tiers and levels where clients can flex access based on their own needs means that you can keep clients for a very long time. And the reality is their revenue with you is more like a Manhattan than a straight line. It can go up and down, and it can be flexed.
And there's another little problem with retainers. I think retainers can be great depending on the sort of business that you want. But there's another little problem there too, with if you're trying to keep the client, it's a different type of over delivery. You start putting yourself into their business. And then by putting yourself into the business, technically you're disabling them, because if you ever leave, you've just left a hole. Avoid that.
And also, retainers can cap your upside. If you generate massive value inside the business, then you can argue you're better off as an equity partner with the business or on a revenue share than you are with a retainer. They can work, but flexibility will make them work better.
And it comes down to, lifestyle, how many clients do you want, all those great things. That's the good thing about choice. You talked before this session about pre-baking cookies. Now, the reason I want to bring that up is because you have a lot of great frameworks, and there are a lot of great frameworks out there, but for offers. And so we've talked about result being such a key. What other elements make a great offer?
The three key components, if you like, and the other things are optional, is having a promise, having a plan to fulfill the promise, and having pricing that reflects the value of the promise. So if you have those components in an offer, and the way I make offers is a simple written offer, so it's black and white and it's clear. That we lead with what happens, the outcomes, and we make a commitment to the client that this is going to happen. Then we give them a plan, and that's about future pacing them, saying, in phase 1, we're going to do this, in phase 2, we're going to do this, and then we're going to move to phase 3 and do this. And future pacing people and offers mean that we can actually get them to envisage it. We can actually get them to imagine what it's like working with you, because they can see how the phases roll out, because we're selling an abstract. We're selling the future. We're selling, something that's intangible, because that might flow digitally, or it might be you in their office as a consultant. It depends, but they can't see it unless you break down the phases of doing that. And then ultimately the pricing and the economics. If we're giving them a currency, our currencies are money, a time, a status, and various currencies with those pieces. Then if we're giving them a currency, is the pricing relative to the upside they're going to give? And I always aim for a 10x. If I'm going to find a client $1 million, then I'm going to charge them 100,000. And that's a simple ratio to work on. So there's only three. If you've got the 3 Ps in place, then everything else is logistics. How often are you meeting? How's it happening? What resources are you going to make available to them? How does it work? Because people are sold on the the promise, the plan, and ultimately the price.
So this will be a little bit of an interesting one because when it comes to the plan piece, by the way, you've sold me on the other two piece. When it comes to the plan, um, I've seen a risk in people value stacking the plan in a way that they tell them the 10 things they're going to get, and someone looks at those 10 things and go, well, I only want two of those, so they mentally discount the thing by 80%.
Yeah.
Or they go, oh no, I've tried that one and it poisons the whole deal.
Yeah.
What's the difference in the way you do a plan rather than just value stacking what they get? Like, is there some nuance in the way that you do that plan, the way you verbalize it?
Yeah, it's the small promises are easy to keep.
Okay.
Because in all cases, most offers die from indigestion rather than starvation. So the most offers have too much in them, which is an effort by someone to demonstrate value rather than deliver it, when small promises are easier to keep. So a lot of my work with established consultancies or established education or information businesses is removing things from their offer to only distill it down to the core pieces that actually get the promised result. And in many cases, we see massive benefits and upsides and multiples of conversion of how many offers they're selling when we remove components, make the promise smaller, and make the plan easier to execute and simpler to do. I've a recent case where someone was promising someone to get 10 clients, and we actually boiled it down to getting their first client, in the scenario. And that converts about 6 times better than getting 10 clients, because the sophistication of where the people were at, 10 clients was unbelievable, and it sounded hard, and it looked like there was a lot of work to do, because there was. But getting 1 client was a pre-agreement that is made. And that's what consulting is. It's like, you've got a problem and I'll tell you how to solve it, but we need to pre-agree what the problem is and that it's a worthy problem to solve. So in many cases, it's making the plan and the promise smaller and easier to keep than expanding it and demonstrating how clever you are and or how many things or how many tools you've got in the toolkit.
And a large part of that is meeting them where they're at. Like, clients don't tend to have your depth of experience and time that you've spent doing this work. Where are they at? You might go, well, 10 clients is easy to create. And, in a lot of businesses, it can be if you know what you're doing. But if you haven't done it before, you don't necessarily believe it can be done, but you think maybe one is possible.
Yeah. And results are always relative, based on the existing assets of the business, the market sophistication of the business, and where they are. As you go up the hierarchy of business size, more abstract currencies become easier to sell. Leadership training, leadership consultancy is sold at the upper echelons of business, but it's not sold to the smaller echelons of business because they don't know they need it. So it's all relative to where you pitch yourself in the market and which are the primary, the most expensive problems to solve, and relative to what is meaningful for them. Because the small promises are always easy to keep, but small is relative to the size of the business and where they are at the market, and also what's bleeding. Because a lot of consultancy is more of a pain reliever than a value driver. You're selling pills to make the headache go away rather than pills to make them healthier in a year's time.
That's disappointing to hear, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so how do you how do you make the transition?
I liken it to saving the drowning patient. Like, if the water's there, someone's panicking and they're anxious, and they can't see. So if we lift their head above water by giving them the one thing or fulfilling the small promise and allow them to look around, we give them some breathing space. And in the process of that, we've built some trust, and that we've built some proving competency that we know how to solve a singular problem. And that's the currency of the world that we're in right now. We default to people we trust to take advice from and get things. So if you help someone solve one problem, then generally you're trusted to solve the next one and the next one and the next one.
And often it creates
the value of a relationship over a long period of time.
Yeah, and solving that one problem often creates another. It's the idea of like, I've got no leads. All right, well, here's your leads. I've got all these leads, but I can't do anything with them. All right, well, this is how you sell them. All right, now I've got too many sales. I don't know how to actually
You've
deliver.
got a delivery problem, and then you're back at the delivery, and then you're back to the leads, and yeah, it's a circular. No, nothing's linear. It always comes in cycles and phases.
Now you make a lot of offers. You make, you talked about how many offers you would make in a day back in the day. Um, how important is it for someone in a consulting space, a business of expertise, to be able to be flexible with their offers? The talk of recession affects market sentiment. You've got actual changes that are happening that affect individuals. Whether it's relevancy or context, how should a consultant be adapting for what's going on around them?
By adapting to the market. Like me making a lot of offers, the more offers I make, the more offers I'm able to make. Right?
What does that mean? What does that mean?
So case in point, I'm running a workshop next Thursday on a style of offer that's called the hybrid offer. It allows us to sell people in at a low entry point, but also maximize LTV. But it also allows us to sell long-term commitments and long-term programs with actually short-term sales cycles. So this is something I've worked out over the past 12 months, which has changed the game in terms of the way I make offers, which is written and direct. I don't do sales calls or presentations or anything like that.
Yeah.
One of the demands from people was like, I want to do this, but I want to do it in private with you. So as of today, 27 people have bought the $100 access to the workshop where we're going to work on it, where we're going together a group. We'll go for 2 or 3 hours, plus the templates, plus the recording and those things. And 2 people have bought a $3,000 now, because it was $2,500 yesterday when I put the price up, $3,000 set, which gets them a 90-minute, everything that plus a 90-minute piece there. So I am able to make that offer because I've made offers like that before, and people said, I want that, but I also want something else. And then it's about whether I'm willing to do it and what I'm willing to say no to. So the more offers you make, the more the market tells you what it wants.
Yes.
And I think one of the things that consultants who don't have many clients do is they try and formulate the perfect offer, the perfect messaging, but they're doing it from observing the market rather than inside it. I'm inside it and just working out which buttons to push, and I'm in front of the big machine, and I know that the currency is offers. The more offers I make, the more offers I'm allowed to make, but the more offers that the market tells me it wants, and then I get to decide whether I want to do those things. Because often the market will say, I want to do this, and I'll say, I'm not prepared to do that. I limit my Zoom time every week. I'm not prepared to do certain things. I only do calls on Tuesdays and Thursdays, even these, because I'm a solo dad to 2 kids. Like I have constraints around it. So it's about saying no and being flexible within it, because if you're flexible outside it, then you're not playing the game. You're just on the sidelines watching while everybody else is playing the game.
There's a whole bunch of stuff in that. The one of the points I noticed early days, because I was working in agency land, I think you were too, that you would work on a lot of clients, and so you would have exposure to a lot of different business models, a lot of different issues, and all the different. It was flexible. You learn to become flexible, but those internal marketing managers or sales managers or whatever were very stuck with their method, and that, I think that's what you're talking about with the limited amount of clients. You don't see the opportunities, but you're also not in touch with the community.
Yeah,
and the community's not feeding it back to you. But you're also, and correct me if I'm wrong, fully meta, doing the workshop in the method of what you're teaching.
Yeah,
which I love.
It's meta all the way down. It's meta everything. Yes. And during the workshop, I will be demonstrating the offer that I'm making on the workshop to use it as an example, which then means that I'm essentially selling people on becoming clients for 2 hours.
Yes. which is great. And at the same
paid
time,
for the privilege.
They're actually, they're getting massive value out of it too. And I've heard some of the people talking about the work that you're doing, and they are, what's the word I would use? Their eyes are becoming open to some things that even the ones that have been digital marketers or direct mail marketers for a long time, they're like, I didn't think about it that way.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
much thinking do
Yeah,
you do?
a lot. I invert most things. So I optimize for white space rather than work.
Yes.
So my constraints are, as I said, I only do calls on Tuesday and Thursday. I only have 8 hours of scheduled calls a week. The rest of the time is creating. I primarily see myself as just a creator and an experimenter, much more than a teacher or anything else. So
Yes.
I only teach things that I do, and I'll only have opinions and ideas on things that I've done myself or I've been directly exposed to. Um, the I think it's important for people to understand what I'm optimizing for as well. And I'm optimizing for efficiency. So I have, over the past 10 months gone from a team of 8 to one person.
Yeah. Okay.
And in the interim, doubled my revenue and tripled my profits in doing that. So that forces creativity around efficiency of IP, and one of the ways I look at it is that I'm having a workshop for my clients because that's what they need. So I'm selling tickets to that workshop for people who might become clients. And then I'm selling additional access to me over and above that workshop if people need it, which clients and non-clients can buy. So we turn one piece of IP into multiple contact points and multiple efficiency, because the internet's been far more better for efficiency of delivery and of ideas and IP than it has been for what people perceive it as getting clients. That's just an open communication channel. So when you start creatively looking at your intellectual property and things you're making as an asset, then your creative brain turns on and says, well, how do I get the maximum yield from this asset? How do I deliver the most amount of value to the most amount of people at the widest variety of price points and the widest different of modalities? And I also separate, coaching, consulting, and mentorship as well to further enhance how I do that and how I think about it, because it means that one idea, can be literally $1 million. And most people can take one idea and make $1 million these days, if they have the right modalities and the right thinking of how approaching that idea.
Now, I'm not putting myself in the same category as you, but you are a man after my own heart. The experimental world is where I am living. I said I went out into the wilderness. I'll come back here. It is fun. And it's fun to be in a space where you're actually doing the work that people aspire to. And literally being able to help them while having fun creating something at the same time. I love that model. I love that you're doing that model. It's certainly something that I enjoy. And for the people listening, you can do that too. If you want to actually put in the time and the work and the thought processes and actually do stuff and do actually experiment, you get to have that if that's what you want.
It's all a choice.
Fantastic. Well, where else can people get more of James Kemp?
If you want to see my exact business model and behind the scenes, if you go to swipemymarketing.com, then I've got a 5-minute video of exposing everything. I'm an open book. And yes, I will make you an offer if you sign up on that page.
That's fantastic. Well, go to swipemymarketing.com. Amazing URL, amazing offer. And thank you so much for being on the call.
Thank you, sir.
Fantastic to have James here, and I love the way he breaks complex into simple and then somehow manages to twist it around and make me go back into my head again and go, oh, wow, I haven't seen it that way before. And so it was great to get him on the show. Go and check out everything he's got available. I think that there are some really good resources there. And if you're looking for someone to actually help you take specific steps within your consulting business, you can't look any further than the Forge business program, which is where we help super smart people who are usually a hell of a lot smarter than me, take the steps in their business to actually take the complex and make it simple so they can engage great clients that enable them to have a lifestyle that they love. Not the clients, but the actual consultants themselves. So actually creating a consulting business that enables you to do what you want, when you want, with whom you would like. That's really the key in this opportunity that we've all got to become really select consultants, being able to select how we want to engage people in our lives. Now, I've actually just put a new resource up at russellpearsonprograms.com. You can get the link within the show notes. Go and check out that. It's a new resource that we've just put up recently, and it's a bit of writing I've been doing on the concept, and I think it's really a valuable one about how you can actually be more selective in the work that you take, the engagements you take, and where you spend your time. So go to russellpearsonprograms.com and you can get that absolutely free. Now, while you're here and hopefully you enjoyed the episode, I'd love you to subscribe. Click the subscribe button, whether you're on a podcast, listening through a podcast platform, click the subscribe button there for your loving listening ears, or whether you're on YouTube, just click the button in front of you. You can actually subscribe to get more episodes just like this. And we ideally put these episodes out every single week. We've had some fantastic guests on recently. I'm going to do a number of sessions, I think probably with some of the concepts that I've even been developing in the lab, so to speak, in the studio. Some things that we've been working on, they're going to be of real interest to those people who are not just wanting to build a consulting business, but really build a business around a life that they really enjoy. There's some fun stuff that we've been doing there that we're going to release soon. So stay tuned, check it out, hit like if you enjoyed what you heard today. Leave a review. We really appreciate those reviews. If you want to leave a review, that'd be amazing. And for those who want to leave a comment or even send me an email with a comment, I'd love to hear what you got out of today. What was the small little insight or the big insight that you're going to take and make in offers in the future? Until next time, my name is Russell Pearson. Stay passionate, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye for now.